Every story appears ordinary till you see the core side of it.
And what you're looking for is the story behind the news.
We bring it to you from Lagos, the commercial capital of Nigeria.
Giving you all sides and political stories round the clock.
Every detail from the start line to the final whistle.
CoreTV News, expanding your view.
A very pleasant evening to you. Thank you for joining us on CoreTV Primetime News today, broadcasting live from our Lagos studios. I am Abosedi Omowi, and here are top stories tonight. Many thanks for joining us tonight. Now the news in full. President Muhammadu Buhari says it is a matter of great concern to him that nearly two-thirds of states of the Federation are still having difficulties with salary payment, despite the bailout funds provided to them by the federal government. Speaking at a meeting with members of the Nigeria Governors Forum at the Presidential Villa, President Buhari expresses sadness over the hardship which state government workers across the country and their families are facing due to the non-payment of salaries. The president says the federal government will strive to make more funds available to the state by expediting action on refunds due to them for the maintenance of federal roads and other expenses incurred on behalf of the federal government. President Buhari also says he will establish an interministerial committee to study a fiscal restructuring plan for the Federation, which was presented to him by the governors. And still on the Governors Forum meetings, the Nigeria Governors Forum on Thursday met with President Muhammadu Buhari to fashion out ways out of the economic challenges facing the nation. State House correspondent Abiola Oluwole reports that the meeting is a follow-up to the Governors Forum meeting held at the banquet hall of the Presidential Villa. His report.
The meeting started with the arrival of President Buhari into the executive chambers at 2 p.m. After the 2 hours behind the curtains deliberation, the chairman of the Nigeria's Governors Forum, Abdulaziz Yari, addressed the State House correspondents. According to him, the forum tabled challenges confronting different states before the president. He says government is keen to explore creative avenues of getting out of the current economic situation.
Today, we experience support of Mr. President for bailout, restructuring our debt, and giving us also support ECA for the infrastructure development, which all those are temporary measures.
On the recent NLC proposal of 56,000 naira minimum wages for workers, the governors have this to say.
Well, they are right, because we agree that what we are paying is too small, but they should understand the situation in Nigeria is, because from where we are driving our resources from, it's about 60% lower than what we are adding.
They've sent a proposal to the government, yes, and I haven't seen it. From my own experience, there is always a difference between a proposal and a final agreement. In the real world, nobody gets what you want, you get what you negotiate.
A reversal of the current economic challenges for better in the days to come is top on the expectations of Nigerians, according to observers. From the Presidential Villa in Abuja, Abiola Oluwole reporting for CoreTV News.
And the Nigeria Governors Forum has expressed hope that the nation will surmount the economic challenges facing her. The chairman of the forum and Zamfara State Governor Abdulaziz Yari expressed the optimism at the end of the forum's meeting held at the banquet hall of the Presidential Villa. Again, State House correspondent Abiola Oluwole tells us more.
It was expected to be the concluding part of the deliberation that started last week, but the Governors Forum chairman says the meeting will continue on Thursday. Addressing State House correspondents after the behind-the-curtain deliberation, Governor Abdulaziz Yari explained that government is exploring creative ways that will end the economic downturn facing the country. According to him, diversifying the nation's economy is no longer debatable.
What the pacification you're looking about is about the agriculture, what is supposed to be done long ago, but has not been done by the past administrations. So now we find ourselves in the situation. Of course, we are working harder to diversify the economy.
But Governor Ayodele Fayose believes economic recession is normal in the life of every nation.
What we depend on as source of our revenue dwindling is not the making of any man. It is another trend, another event in our history that we have to deal with, and we're dealing with it.
You see, the issues we have now, economic issues we have now, is not only pertaining to Nigeria. It's a global issue. So you can't just at one meeting of about 2 hours fashion an entire solution for the country.
Reports also have it that the Governor Forum will be meeting with President Muhammadu Buhari on Thursday to discuss the economic situation of the country. As deliberations on the state of the economy continue, the question on the lips of Nigerians, according to experts, is when will the downturn become a thing of the past? From the presidential villa in Abuja, Abiola Oluwole reporting for CoreTV News.
Now, from north to south, stories about the killings, maimings, and wanton destruction of property and community farmlands by suspected Fulani herdsmen is making waves. Obviously disturbed, especially by the most recent killing of some members of an Uzowani community in Enugu State, the Senate is thinking of setting up an ad hoc committee of members from the 6th geopolitical zone to suggest a necessary line of action to be taken. Jamil Ofegwa brings us happenings at the day's plenary.
The ad hoc committee set up is to, within 1 week, arrange for a public hearing with stakeholders to find a way out of the situation. The decision follows deliberations on a matter of urgent public importance raised by a member from Enugu State who is praying the Senate to ask the federal government to immediately deal with the problem as it is becoming a bigger one for the country.
I have never seen the Gorisite that I saw since Monday till now, and decomposing human corpses everywhere. I have never seen such to a quiet and peaceful people like in my community in Uzowani.
A debate riddled with emotion saw members trying to profile as best they can solutions and suggestions on how to tackle the issue.
People who cannot remember history, this is how the Civil War started. My problem right now is when regular people start retaliating. And that day is here and that day is now.
So much is being talked about the nefarious activities of the Fulani herdsmen, but some pertinent questions are being asked as to the identity of these bandits masquerading as herdsmen.
Fulani are used to carrying sticks, but we see these people with AK-47. We see people moving from one community to the other. I listened to contribution of our colleagues, but it's more of lamentation instead of profiling solution.
Suspected Fulani herdsmen in their numbers, armed with sophisticated weapons, early hours of 25th April, invaded Nimbo community in Uzowani, Enugu State, while the inhabitants were asleep, gruesomely murdering about 38 people and injuring hundreds more. Jamila Fegwa, CoreTV News, Abuja.
In a related development, the Fulani herdsmen killings have been generating mixed reactions among Nigerians. Speaking on our flagship program, Core Digest, public affairs analyst Victor Hai reacts on the recent directive of President Muhammadu Buhari to crack down on the nefarious activities of these herdsmen, disturbing the peace and unity of Nigerians. Our correspondent has more.
More reactions trailing the incessant killings perpetrated by Fulani herdsmen as the President of Nigeria, Muhammadu Buhari, orders total crackdown on the rampaging herdsmen. Is this directive coming soon or pretty late?
The propagandists and the managers of information have decided, look, if we let this thing go on without him speaking or without us saying he has spoken, how can you wait? I would expect that the current president would have visited that community by now.
He calls the government to nip this on board before it goes out of control.
People are begging you to talk and you are quiet. Do you know that one word from the president directly, the police, they know what to do now. The army know what to do. All this nonsense will stop.
Callers also have this to say.
And these problems have been for over years. The past government has failed to implement things that will benefit for the futures on those kind of issues. And now they are showing they are gathering more momentum now to resurface.
The way the Fulani henchmen and the silence of the president is really annoying. I don't know, maybe because he's a Fulani man. Because the silence, because they say silence means consent.
It is hoped that this issue will be resolved soon in order to have peace and unity in the country.
The Inspector General of Police, Solomon Arase, has ordered the detention of a policeman identified as Corporal Chuku, who allegedly collaborated with herdsmen during the killing of residents in Uzowani local government area of Enugu State. Arase, who disclosed this when he visited the community to commiserate with victims of the attack, says the policeman should be detained and properly investigated. He says his visit was aimed at assessing the situation and subsequently planned on how to find a permanent solution to the scourge. He assures that once the allegations against the policeman in the Enugu massacre were confirmed, he would not only leave the police but would be prosecuted. Arase pledges the readiness of the police force to do all in its powers to ensure that those involved in the gruesome murder of the villagers were arrested and prosecuted. And in a report, sharp disagreement had risen between some ethnic groups in Plateau State with regard to the federal government's proposed grazing reserves for Fulani herdsmen. While the Fulani see it as the best way to end the perennial Fulani farmers' conflict across the nation, others see the move as a way to lose their lands to aliens. Plateau State correspondent Felton's this report presented from our studios.
The continuous Fulani herdsmen and farmers' conflict in Plateau State is as old as the nation's recent democratic experiment. A move by the President Muhammadu Buhari's led federal government to take parts of some state lands and turn them to grazing reserves for the cattle breeders is being opposed by some landowners who say it is a ploy to steal their inheritance.
If he's renting the land, I will understand that, okay, rents for purpose of cohabiting together, but I can't just say I'll give my land to Fulani person for that, but we have been there with them, not on the basis that I'm giving them a land. No, we never gave them a land. But we gave them opportunity for them to stay.
It's not possible because we don't have a land. We don't have a land, so we cannot present a reserve for Fulani. We have been living peacefully together. Why not reverse back to where we were living together than to give them a reserve?
However, the leader of the Fulani community in Plateau State and state chairman of the Miyetti Ala Cattle Breeders Association says the establishment of grazing reserves for the Fulani herdsmen would be the lasting solution needed to halt the conflict between farmers and the nomadic cattle breeders.
This grazing reserve is something very, very important that will help manage this conflict between farmers and grazers. When you separate the two, the farmers are in their own field, the grazers are in their own separate field.
The modicum of peace that is being enjoyed by the residents of Plateau State from the communal clashes has been attributed to continuous dialogue between the warring parties. But nevertheless, the air of mutual suspicion still pervades the state.
We and the Fulani people, we understand. We go close to the God. And now we pick to each other. We understand ourselves. That's why we are very peaceful now. So now, from now on, we pray God will continue with us.
Let's have justice prevail in our states. Let us be free and fair to everybody. If you commit rubbish, you find the government, you find the wrath of the government.
We grew up with them together, we're living peacefully, you know. They were living with us like neighbors and good friends. But after a while, they grazed their animals in our farms, destroying our farms land. and that was where the problem started.
It is hoped that the peace would last longer as the state and federal governments continue to make concerted effort to stem the menace of Fulani farmers' conflicts.
And now the House of Representatives is expressing concerns about the needless deaths and wanton destruction of properties, which could have been averted by prompt response of relevant agencies. The House is therefore mandating the Nigerian Communications Commission to, as a matter of urgency, compel major telecoms operators in the country to introduce toll-free lines for emergency purposes. Thus, the reps say is in line with global best practices and as a matter of corporate social responsibility to the people. National Assembly correspondent Emmanuel Ihijene's report is presented from our studios.
The motion was introduced by Honorable Obina Onbuariri, representing Onemo Okigwe Isiala Mbano Federal Constituency of Imo State, having observed that avoidable incidents of emergency disasters like fire outbreaks in homes and marketplaces, armed robberies and other crimes like kidnapping, insurgency and other natural disasters happening across the country could be averted with proper emergency lines. He notes that if NCC makes it mandatory for major GSM operators to introduce a toll-free short code numbers, prompt response will be made easy and possible.
This emergency 30-digit number will be able to help us with the situation of the country, what we are passing through today in terms of insecurity and in various developed roads that causes road accidents.
Lawmakers supporting the motion are also arguing that the motion could not have come at a more auspicious time, urging a total support.
I want to encourage the mover of this motion that he has reminded us what we must do, and we must get this bill done so that we have this system, like he pointed out.
It is not that NCC doesn't know what to do, or all our service providers do not know what to do. We are in the era of change, and as we are moving on, what is necessary to be done must be done.
I'm supporting this motion because I feel that it is high time our GSM companies rise up to their social responsibility. They have gained so much from this country.
The House is unanimous in favor of the motion, and it's been referred to the Committee on Telecommunications and Legislative Compliance for further legislative input.
The Nigerian Army has dismissed insinuations that it fired live rounds at a crowd of members of the Islamic movement in Nigeria on Saturday, December the 12th in Zaria to make way for the convoy of the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tukur Buratai. The submission came to light as the Army gave additional testimonies at the public hearing of the Judicial Commission of Inquiry into the clashes in Zaria between the Shiite group and the Army. Our correspondent was at the public hearing, and his report is presented from our studios.
Since a death toll of 347 on the side of the Shiite group came to light, it has been a major talking point, with the Army arguing it was far fewer, a point it reinforces in its testimonies.
A space was created for the motorcade to pass. There was no shooting subsequently. So they didn't shoot their way through, they only shot to open, to demobilize the agitator who kept the men that were used as human barricade.
Colonel Kulawe told the commission that there were 4 deaths of the Shiite members of the Sainia during the Army's cordon and search operation on the 13th and 14th of December, with the Army effecting the arrest of about 200 and the home of El Zakzaki in Gelusi being the place of greater resistance. The Lazen officer, Nigeria Joint Task Force of the Office of the Chief of Army Staff, was part of the Army Chief's convoy on the day in question. He also gave his testimony, saying there were no deaths recorded at the barricade.
I saw like 2 people on this side and about 2 on the right-hand side. One was injured. Soldiers were trying to remove him to the rear.
The commandant of the Nigerian Army Depot, Zaria, Brigadier General Christopher Musa, and Colonel Abdul Ibrahim of the 1 Division of the Nigerian Army, Kaduna, were 2 other officers that were at the public hearing to give the testimonies.
You're watching CoreTV Primetime News. Still ahead, concerned Nigerians X-ray possible ways the government can utilize recovered looted funds. Details of this and all the report after this break. Do join us again.
Every day, every hour, and every minute, news break in Nigeria. Things happen so fast, it's most times difficult to track and comprehend them. But that's what we do right here on Digit 360. 2015, would you want to come back again?
It's like asking Jesus Christ if he knew he was going to die, will you want to come back as the savior of the world again?
We do not just help you track the stories, we break them down, explore all the angles, analyze the issues so that you can fully comprehend the stories and use them to make the right decisions.
Thank you so much for being there. You're still watching CoreTV Primetime News, reaching you live from our Lagos studio. Let's take a recap of our top stars. For more on our top stories, all the news and information, kindly visit our social media platforms. Facebook.com/CoreTV News. You may follow on our Twitter handle @CoreTV News NG. And we urge you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/CoreTV. Leave a space, the news. The Chairman Code of Conduct Tribunal, Danladi Umar, is again dismissing an application filed by the President of the Senate, Bukola Saraki, asking the judge to disqualify himself from presiding over the ongoing trial on the alleged false asset declaration. Saraki is arguing through his counsel that the tribunal chairman lacked moral justification to adjudicate over his case on the grounds that the judge is being investigated by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission for bribery. Judiciary correspondent Basil Okafor reports that after Saraki's application was dismissed, he was rearraigned by the federal government on 3 amended charges, bringing the charges against him to 16-count charge of the alleged offense.
Justice Umar was alleged to have demanded 10 million naira from an accused that was appearing before the CCT sometimes in 2012. It was alleged that Umar's personal assistant collected 1.8 million naira from the accused as part of the 10 million naira bribe allegedly demanded by the CCT chairman. This is the ground the Senate President wants the tribunal chairman to withdraw from presiding over his case. But in a ruling, Justice Umar held that a letter from the EFCC exonerated him from the allegation of bribery, and he therefore dismissed the application for lack of merit. Saraki's counsel, who did not want to speak to newsmen on the fate of the application, however, confirmed an option of appeal against the judge's decision.
So the defendant still has his options. Okay.
I don't expect anything else other than that. Is naturally, if you listen to the argument, you know, a reasonable person will be able to know where the argument is, and I think it tilted towards my side.
When the Senate President was rearranged, the 16-count charge was read to him, and he pleaded not guilty to all the charges. One of the amended charges is that Saraki failed to declare his interest in an American Express service card, where he allegedly transferred huge sums of money in dollars from his Guaranty Trust Bank domiciliary account to foreign bank account.
I've seen a number of the charges. I would have to study them. But one thing strikes me. It does look as if, based on the cross-examination that we're doing, that's precisely why the prosecution decides to amend their charges.
As at the time we filed those charges, in the course of giving evidence, we discover a lot of additional funds that require amendment, particularly the salary.
The matter has been adjourned till May 10 for further cross-examination of prosecution witness. Basil Okafor, CoreTV News, Abuja.
Was different revelations about looted funds recovered from government and non-government officials. The expectation of Nigerians is that the funds would be utilized well for the betterment of the economy. And that report concerned Nigerians x-ray possible ways the government can utilize the recovered funds and hope that transparency and accountability would be the watchword in expending the resources. Victoria Solomon has more.
As the fight against corruption continues in the Buhari-led administration, revelations continue to evolve with past funds looted by government officials and non-government officials. A concerned Nigerian says it hopes the government will make proper use of the money well and use it for the good of the society.
Those looted funds should strategically be utilized for infrastructural development that will have impact on our economic development.
Another concerned citizen believes that the government needs to be organized and plan well before it starts spending the money.
They need to sit down and engage in a very, very purposeful manner with the view that by the time they are able to start spending the recovered loot, they are able to give proper accounts.
One can only hope that the government will adequately utilize the looted funds recovered and help build a better country.
And in Plateau, the government of the state is still given more excuses as to the reason it has been unable to pay its workers up to date. While the state economy is almost at a standstill due to its civil service nature, the government continues to give excuses as to why it has been unable to pay its civil servants since December last year. Our Plateau State correspondent has more.
In the past, the reasons adduced to by the government for not paying the salaries include lack of sufficient internally generated funds, payment of loans taken by the previous administration, lack of federal government's bailout funds, to mention but a few. The latest added to the list is the verification of the bank verification numbers presented by workers.
So we are doing that. The first report has already been turned up, and we are working on the first report, the clean data, and hopefully in the next 2 or 3 days, we will be able to commence payment of January salary.
Due to poor sales, traders in the state have added their voices to the plea for the state government to pay its workers. The state head of civil service pleads for more patience from the workers, adding that everything is being done to ensure the payment of the salary arrears.
I want to appeal to the workers to be patient with government. This government has them in mind. The governor has been so concerned about the welfare of the workers. He has been so concerned about the salaries of workers.
The market is going on slowly. I'm begging government, please and please, pay the workers.
Although the workers could not bear their minds on camera, they lament the inability of the Simon Lalong administration to pay their salaries up to date.
And in politics, the National Executive Committee of the People's Democratic Party has approved the report of its various committees set up to prepare it for its May the 21st National Convention, slated for Port Harcourt, the River State capital. The national chairman of the party, Ali Modu Sharif, disclosed that the ward and state congresses of the party will take off on the 30th of April all over the country. Correspondent Kozim Kasali has more.
This is the latest in the series of the National Executive Committee meetings of the People's Democratic Party as it prepares for its national convention. Party's national chairman, Ali Modu Sharif, who briefed the press on the outcome of the party's next meeting, disclosed that the reports of all the committees set up to prepare for the convention have been approved. He added that this includes the zoning committee.
Our conferences will start from this week, Saturday, which will culminate in May 21st convention.
The party, according to him, would start off its ward and state congresses from Saturday, 30th of April. On if he will contest for the chairmanship of the party, he says his decision will be made public soon.
These ones are my personal decisions. When I make up my mind, I let you know.
A former speaker of the Kwara State House of Assembly, who also attended the meeting as a member of NEC, is of the opinion that the party is ready for the challenges ahead.
The zoning arrangement has been adopted by NEC, and I think each of the geopolitical zones will now go back to their various geopolitical zones to go and meet again and zone all the positions given to them to the state within their geopolitical zones.
As the party prepares for the challenges ahead, time will tell if the party is truly united and ready to return to its former glories. Kazim Kasali, CoreTV News, Abuja.
The World Bank has commended the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources and Group Managing Director of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, Ibe Kachiku, for bringing transparency and accountability to bear in the operations of the NNPC and the entire oil and gas industry in Nigeria. The Managing Director of the bank, Shri Muliani Indrawati, made this known when she paid an official visit to the minister in his office in Abuja. She says the 20 fixes introduced by Kachiku to the NNPC business models have gone a long way to reform the corporation for profitability. Indrawati says the bank is ready and available to offer the Ministry of Petroleum Resources technical support, advice and funding, stressing that sound policy thrust was key in the areas of fiscal direction, gas flare out and gas to power. And now, as part of activities to mark the International Girls in ICT Day celebration, specialists in information and communications technology have brought together girls from the Federal Capital Territory to sensitize them and create awareness for opportunities embedded in the ICT sector. The group brought women in the ICT sector to mentor young girls on the opportunities they can tap from the sector and pursue smart careers that will improve their lives of others. Bukola Feni brings us the report.
Representing the DJ NIGDA, Sarindu Indoni disclosed that the workshop is being put together to stimulate broader interest in information and communication technology for the girl child, adding that with the new development in technology, skills such as entrepreneurship will be developed, which will reduce unemployment.
It's a day set aside to encourage and inspire young girls in schools to take careers in ICT, information and communication technology.
Organization in the ICT sector has been mentoring girls from different schools for a period of 4 years, giving them enabling environment and skills to launch out as entrepreneurs, emphasizing that girls with ICT skills will never be out of work and have much to do in their work choices.
Our facilitators are career women, they're busy professionals, but also using technology, they can shoot an email, SMS, and they reply to it to guide these girls.
Participating students at the workshop highlights that the event is an eye-opening one that will enable them to see the potential in the ICT sector, adding that they will circulate the information obtained to their peers.
So many women are coming to speak to us about ICT, how we can change the world, and there are so many possibilities, so many things that we can change about the world using ICT.
This program has created an awareness for not just me, other girls to know that there are certain careers that we can pick up in ICT.
The International Girls in ICT Day celebration is celebrated annually since 2011 to promote and create awareness for girls in the area of ICT and technology. Bukola Afeni, CoreTV News, Abuja.
Tourism is a resource of development and means of providing an additional opportunity for a non-industrialized country like Nigeria to diversify its economic base for the betterment of all. President Muhammadu Buhari, in his speech to the National Summit on Culture and Tourism, has charged stakeholders in the sector to come up with practical solutions that will aid government's efforts to make the culture and tourism sector a center point of the nation's economic development. In other reports, Nigerians have been urged not to depend solely on oil, but to embrace and promote culture as a means of diversifying the economy. Speaking at the popular annual Wealth Festival, also known as Ajé, enthusiasts reiterate the richness of the Yoruba culture, noting that Nigeria is blessed with huge human, cultural and natural resources. Victoria Solomon has more in this report.
Festivals are important in showcasing Nigeria's cultural heritage. The Yoruba race, for instance, have great reference for wealth, hence the celebration around it called Ajé Festival. Ajé Festival is marked annually to appease the deity so named and recognized as the giver of wealth.
The deities that is in charge of fortune and prosperity. Ajé is apparently the most sought after ingrate in gods. The supreme being has created a kind of unique spiritual affinity between man and wealth.
He also urges the government to believe in God and not only in natural resources.
Now that the present situation continues to abide hands on the people, we have to look inward. At a time like this, we need spiritual rebirth. We need spiritual transformation. We need to align with our roots and seek spiritual enlightenment as a nation.
There are, however, concerns that the Yoruba culture is fast being lost.
It's essentially that it seems that we are walking around naked without our culture. So unless you embrace your identity, you turn out to be nothing.
The youths are therefore urged to embrace the African culture and also believe in Nigeria.
You cannot be more British than the British. You have to be a Nigerian. And unless you realize that fact and you come back home, like Nice has done, like Davido is doing, and incorporate your culture to your music, then you have nowhere to go.
It is hoped that the rich Nigerian culture will be explored for more economic and historic gains. Victoria Solomon, CoreTV News, Lagos.
You're still watching CoreTV Primetime News. Still ahead on the foreign scene, at least 30 people killed by Syrian government airstrikes in rebel-held areas of Aleppo. Details of this and other reports from outside Nigeria after this break. Do stay with us.
With over 7 billion of world population and still counting, the world needs to hear you now than ever. Whatever your ministry or vision is, Gospel Africa will help get you there faster than you think possible. For inquiries and participation, contact 009 503 3859 or 0812 076 0011 or visit www.gospelafricang.com. Gospel Africa, your #1 media solutions for the church today. Gospel Africa, showing on this station at this time.
Welcome back. In report from beyond the shores, Syrian government airstrikes have killed at least 30 people in rebel-held areas of Aleppo. Today's attacks came within hours of a strike on a hospital supported by Doctors Without Borders, which killed Dr. Wassem Maaz, the remaining pediatrician in the rebel-held part of the city. Rescue workers have been digging through the rubble looking for survivors and bodies. The areas affected by the attacks include Bastan al-Qasr, Bab al-Hadid, Al-Koba and several others. At least one strike mistakenly hit the government-held area of Medan, killing 6 civilians. The violence comes amid a breakdown in truce talks between the government and opposition representatives in Geneva. And Jordan's parliament has passed several constitutional amendments giving King Abdullah more powers, including the right to appoint the head of a top court and members of the Senate. The amendment passed with 123 votes in favor out of 142, also grants the king the power to appoint his own regent and crown prince. The changes give the king the right to make key appointments by royal decree without any nomination process by the government or signatures from the Council of Ministers. In the year 2015, the parliament passed a previous constitutional amendment that gave Abdullah the power to hire and fire the heads of the army and the intelligence services. The amendment aimed to strengthen the principle of separation of powers, boost the independence of the Constitutional Court and the judiciary, and enhance the neutrality of the gendarmerie in politics. 2 journalists in Turkey have been sentenced to 2 years in jail for insulting religious values after they reprinted a controversial cover from the French satirical magazine Charlie Hebdo above their columns. An Istanbul court on Thursday sentenced Seda Karan and Hikmet Setinkaya to 2 years behind bars for illustrating their columns with a cartoon of the Prophet Muhammad, published by French satirical weekly Charlie Hebdo. Their lawyer, Bulen Utku, says they will appeal the ruling at the appeals court. Muslim Turkey's constitution strictly separates state and religion, but its penal code makes it a crime to insult religion. And sports stories now.
Our style, and that's what he delivered.
Tottenham midfielder Dele Alli will be missing in action for the rest of the season after being banned for 3 games for violent conduct. 20-year-old Ali admitted a charge after television cameras showed him punching West Brom player Claudio Yacob in the stomach. The incident was not captured by the referee in his report, but was caught by cameras and reviewed by an independent panel of 3 former elite referees who decide on sanctions for such off-the-ball incidents. The Football Association says the England international contested the standard 3-match penalty as clearly excessive, but his claim was rejected. Ali, who made his England debut in October of 2015, was on Sunday named the Professional Footballers Association Young Player of the Year. But the latest development implies that his next competitive game could be England's Euro 2016 opener against Russia in Marseille on the 11th of June, if selected. Now, Gabriel Agbolaho has stepped down from his role as Aston Villa club captain and been given a substantial fine by the club. The 29-year-old striker, who is Villa's longest-serving current player, has apologized for his actions in recent weeks after he was pictured apparently partying immediately after the relegation from the Premier League earlier in April. Agbonlaho has spent 16 years at Aston, and his subsequent suspension will be lifted by the club on Monday. Agbonlaho, who will miss Saturday's Premier League trip to Watford, has apologized to Aston Villa fans, asking for forgiveness and saying he's hurting as well, despite reports and photos in the press making out otherwise. And European football's governing body, UEFA, has suspended Liverpool defender Mamadou Sakho for a provisional period of 30 days following a positive drugs test. A sample submitted by the France international following the club's Europa League fixture with Manchester United on March the 17th came back showing traces of a banned substance believed to be a fat burner. Sakho has declined to take the option of appealing the finding and have a B sample tested. UEFA has now elected to suspend the player for a month while an investigation is undertaken. A release from European football's governing body notes that a final decision will be taken by the UEFA-controlled ethics and disciplinary body during a hearing to be held at a later date. Finally, in sports, at this time, families of the Hillsborough disaster victims have expressed anger over a message that retired South Yorkshire police officers be proud of their work, despite the inquest conclusions. A message on the website for the force's retired officers says they had served dedicated and courageous careers. The comments were later removed from the website, and NAPO's South Yorkshire Secretary Rick Naylor says they had not been intended for public consumption and were not designed to offend. The force's current chief constable was suspended on Wednesday because of the approach the force took to the inquest. That is it on Sport and on CoreTV Primetime News. Before we go, let's take a recap of our top stories. Many thanks to you for being a part of CoreTV Primetime News today. On behalf of the entire production crew, do have a pleasant night rest. I'm Abosedi Omoyi.